from the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagles Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down.
Hello everyone, I'm Amy Galashewski.
And I'm Shane Hogan. The men's soccer team kicked off Big East tournament play with a 4-1 loss to Seton Hall today.
Tyler Peters is live at Valley Fields for more on today's match. Tyler?
Well, Shane, Amy, this was simply put just a brutal loss for the Marquette men's soccer team as they looked out of sorts right from the get-go. Seton Hall was able to strike within the first 5 minutes of the match, and the Pirates kept their foot on the gas the rest of the way. Now keep in mind, prior to today, the Golden Eagles had not played a game within the last 3 weeks as their final 2 games of the regular season were canceled due to COVID-19. Now, this loss will likely not impact their NCAA tournament bid chances as the selection show begins on Monday at 11 a.m. Central Time. The book isn't closed just yet for the Golden Eagles, who will look to pounce on this opportunity and salvage their historically good season and their best yet since 2012. Shane, Amy, back to you.
Thanks, Tyler. Great insights as always. But now we'd like to welcome in Nick Galley to discuss more about the team. Nick, welcome back. Great to have you on the show.
Oh, it's been a while since I've been in here, so you know I'm always glad to be back, ready to talk some men's soccer. So, I mean, let's get to it. Let's waste no time. Just get right into the talk here.
You seem like you're ready. Are you?
I'm ready. You know I'm always ready. I mean, I always say that every show, and this time I really mean it. So let's get into it here.
Let's get started. So, obviously, devastating loss today for the Golden Eagles. But what were your biggest takeaways from the match?
I think, obviously, very tough game. Very tough game. They go down 2-0 within the first 10 minutes, within the first 9 minutes, actually. So, I mean, right out of the gate, you're playing in a hole, and you just can't do that. Coach Bennett's teams have kept things very close this season. The defense has really been the strong point. We've seen them play a lot of games really close. A lot of games have gone into overtime. So, when they went down in this hole early, I think they just didn't know how to get out of it because it hasn't been a situation that they've been in a lot. And you saw it the entire game. They struggled.
It was tough to watch.
You know, for all 90 minutes they struggled. I mean, there was really not much to pull out of this game for the Golden Eagles. Seton Hall looked great. I mean, this team looks like they're poised and ready to make a deep run. But Marquette, I mean, they really struggled. As Tyler had mentioned, when you don't play in 3 weeks, it's tough to come out with a fiery composure. They weren't able to do that.
And you mentioned that they gave up those 4 goals, and part of that could be because starting goalkeeper Chandler Hallwood was out today, and he was replaced by redshirt sophomore Jackson Wyman. So how critical is this for the team today?
Yeah, Hallwood's been great all season. Wyman has played 45 minutes this year. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think he has some potential in the program, but he hasn't been getting the reps of in-game action that he needed in order to come out in a postseason game and perform at a high level against a team like Seton Hall, who, I mean, they have some talent. The record isn't nearly as good as Marquette's, but they do have some talent there, and they were ready to play. And, you know, he came out, I mean, he put his best foot forward, obviously, as every player does in this situation, but when you don't have those valuable reps throughout the season, I mean, it's tough to just come out.
It's noticeable.
It is noticeable. I mean, it's just tough to kind of get in a groove, get in a rhythm when it's like a pinch hitter in baseball. I mean, you come in off the bench, you're not going to be able to. There are some guys that are able to do it, stand up under the composure, but he's still young, still needs some more reps in this program. I think he does have some potential, though.
That's a great analogy, Nick.
What can I say? You know, I bring the analogies. I keep them in the back pocket, slide them out when I want to, and
I'm glad you're bringing them out tonight. I hope there's more in that pocket.
I have more. We'll see if they come out, but I don't want to play all my cards. You know, I mean, gotta keep some there. We'll see.
All right, we'll see.
All right, yeah.
But Nick, you know, it was a tough day for the Golden Eagles, but there are some bright spots to look forward to. A few players won seasonal awards for Marquette. So who has been your key impact players as you've been covering the team this season?
Top 2 have been Beto Soto and Lucas Sunison. At number 1, I put Soto. Big East Freshman of the Year. Just an outstanding season. Really provided a spark. Marquette's kind of been a team that's relied on some of these younger guys stepping up. I know last year was Christian Marquez in his first season. So Soto was just a really nice addition to this team. Really poised. I think he has a really bright future with this program. Sunison, he wanted to score 10 goals on the year, wanted to get into double digits. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do so. Keep in mind, a couple games were canceled, postponed, so that might have affected it. He ended with 6, which is still great.
He's the only one scoring for him.
Exactly. Team high in goals with 6. So he had a great season. Wasn't able to show up today against Seton Hall. They really did a good job of limiting him. He only had 1 shot attempt It wasn't even on goal. It was, kind of a meaningless shot attempt towards the end of the game there. Flew right over the net. But, still, I think this team has a lot of potential in the future. I know it was a tough game today, but they still have a ways to go up from here.
And Nick, talk a little bit more about those veteran players on the team who are the examples for the first-year students such as Beto Soto.
Yeah, I think they bring a great skill set to this program, and we saw it this year. I mean, this team, I think they outperformed a lot of expectations. I think a lot of people knew they were going to be pretty good, but with COVID going on and all these new faces, you got guys from all over the world, it's tough to build chemistry. I think
definitely.
In soccer, as opposed to other sports, it is really hard to build chemistry because you got guys speaking different languages, coming from different cultures. With basketball, with other sports, volleyball that you see at Marquette, it's mostly, national players. I mean, they're from around the country, but it's mostly in-house here in the United States. Soccer, I mean, you got guys from, Europe, South America, and the United States, and different countries in Europe, different countries in South America. It's really a melting pot. So to come into this season with all the, surrounding circumstances and do what they did, very impressive, and I think they have, plenty more to do success-wise with this. And those veteran guys, they were really behind it, making that team chemistry.
Yeah, Nick, it's really impressive how they were able to gel all together this year.
Yeah, it was amazing. I could
Especially
not do
during
that.
COVID?
I couldn't even do that in classes, I mean, over the, granted it's Zoom, you really can't get that group atmosphere, but it was crazy. So to see them do that this year was great.
Awesome. But looking forward, what do you think is Marquette's future looking like? Do you think they've done enough to get a spot in the NCAA tournament?
I definitely think they have. I'd be shocked if they didn't. I mean, they had an outstanding season, finished it off 8-2-1 with a loss today, 8-1-1 in the regular season, so 6-1-1 in conference play as well. So when you do that, I think you are deserving of a bid, and I would be shocked if they didn't get one. Then again, this year has literally thrown every curveball in the book at people, so if they don't get one, I think that's going to surprise a lot of people, but I think they're deserving. After what I've seen, I think they're deserving.
I think so too. Fingers crossed, and we will definitely keep you updated if they do get a tournament appearance. But Nick, thanks for coming on. I love talking men's soccer with you.
It's my favorite activity to do during the week. I mean, really winds me down, keeps me calm. I love it. Great to talk with you.
Well, thank you, Nick. But when we come back, we will look at former Wnba player Joe Chapman's basketball academy and an update on all things women's basketball. GSR, we'll be right back.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report. Once again, I'm Shane Hogan.
And I'm Amy Galashewski.
Former Marquette men's basketball player Joe Chapman created the Joe Chapman Basketball Academy back in 2016.
And the academy has a new home in Mequon where Chapman can coach the next generation of basketball players. Rashad Alexander has the story.
In order to be the best,
That shirt. Let's go.
sometimes you gotta work with the best.
Let's go. Come on, talk to him, guys. Talk to him.
And the best could be a former Marquette basketball player like Joe Chapman, who has found a way of making younger players better.
Is leading the next generation. I think whatever we learn from our coaches, our generation, we want to pass along to the next person. I think it's our obligation to the game that we had to give back to the next generation. And that's my times of working Marquette campus. I kind of realized this is something I wanted to do.
After retiring from professional basketball in 2016, he began the Chapman Basketball Academy to train and mentor younger players.
I lost on this one. So
It's okay. It's okay to lose sometimes.
Chapman's relatability with players has caught the eye of former teammate Travis Diener.
He's got a good energy about him. Kids gravitate towards him. So I think it's just the ability to be able to relate to whoever, whether it's a 6-year-old little girl or a 15-year-old boy, he has an ability to relate, and that's all coaching is.
Travis has always made big impacts on the court, and now he wants his son to make those same impacts with the help of Chapman.
You know, when I bring my kids in here to work on basketball, you know, it always can't come from me, the father. So to have Joe be able to work with them, to have other people that I respect and that will give them knowledge and be able to relate to them is really important.
Lauren Striffling, who has worked with Chapman since the 4th grade, has learned a lot of lessons from him.
A huge lesson that I've had is always to have discipline, be coachable, and to have great sportsmanship. All of those things are huge lessons that I've gotten from Joe.
From Mequon, I'm Rashad Alexander, Marquette Wire News.
Wow, Shane, it seems like such an awesome opportunity for those kids.
Absolutely, Amy. And I actually spoke with Chapman earlier this week to get a better idea of the man behind the academy and what he learned while he was here at Marquette. Here's a snippet of our conversation. What kind of lessons do you think you learned while you were at Marquette that have helped you today? Because obviously, you know, Marquette's played a big role in your life and where you guys are now, you know, back with Travis. So where do you think that connection is, and how do you think it impacts you today?
Well, a few things. One of the things that we talk about all the time is your discipline, your dedication, and your determination. That's all the stuff that I learned at Marquette is, you know, putting the time into it. I think that's one of the things that is different about me, is I'm willing to spend time with a 5-year-old just as much as I'm willing to spend time with a 22-year-old pursuing an overseas career or a professional career. I think it's the time and the dedication that you provide the athletes, and you get rewarded for that. So I think that goes behind the scenes a little bit, that people don't see how much time we actually put into building something like this. But that's the things that I learned at Marquette is if you build it, they will come.
Absolutely. And, you know, did you ever foresee that, you know, Marquette would play such a big role in your, you know, career when you were, you know, back here on campus? Did you ever think that, you know, this many years removed, that you would still be tied to this place?
Not in this capacity. I think as a former alumni, former player, you always have connection to the program in some certain ways, but not of this magnitude where I can touch so many people, from donors to boosters to kids to coaches, to have so many former players and coaches, kids that's in part of our program speaks volumes to where we are. And that's all the stuff I learned at Marquette is, you know, I played 4 years there and I always worked at Marquette camps. And then, you know, the 10 years, 11 years that I played overseas, I still worked at camps when I came home. And it gave me kind of the platform of my mind of what I can do and what I was thinking about as an entrepreneurship. That all started at Marquette.
Mm-hmm. And I know when we talked at that groundbreaking, I briefly mentioned I'm from Homewood. My mom grew up in the Heights. She went to Bloom. So, you know, I know where you come from. I get the background. How do you think those roots, you know, growing up in a place like that, playing at a high school that, you know, means basketball, what do you think those roots mean to you, and how do you think they've gotten you here today?
Well, it means a lot. It put a foundation into a work ethic that I have from the environment that I grew up in. You know, Chicago Heights, Illinois is not for the faint. You got to be tough to live there. You got to be grit. You got to have some grind about you, and that's what we have. And that's how we started it. So, you know, it's different programs that's inside of the state that you're always competing with. So, you know, all that stuff that I learned from Chicago Heights is learning how to deal with your environment, being comfortable in your own skin. Doesn't matter, you know, how much you have. It's about how much you're willing to learn and willing to apply.
Shane, that was a really good interview, and you just had to throw in that Homewood connection.
Hey, I'm proud of where I'm from. What can I say?
But switching over to men's basketball, the team announced 5 new additions to the program earlier today.
The group is headlined by Brookfield native David Joplin, who is a top 100 recruit.
Joining Joplin is Marion Ellis, Kiana Tijere, Tyler Kolick, and Olivier Maxon Spencer.
Joplin, Ellis, and Atijere were all originally committed to Texas but flipped to Marquette following head coach Shaka Smart.
Coach Smart has had a pretty busy week, Shane.
Very busy, Amy, but he's doing some good work, that's for sure.
For sure. But switching over to women's basketball, senior guard Selena Lott announced that she would not take her extra year of eligibility. Lott is currently waiting for her name to be called in the Wnba Draft, which is going on as we speak.
Lott has been seen as an early third-round pick in recent mock drafts, and she could be picked anywhere from 25th to 30th overall.
Shane, what are you thinking? I think she's going to get picked up in the third round.
Hey, I hope so. I mean, she's been a great player here at Marquette, so we'll have to see.
Yes, and Kristen Parisi actually was able to get some insight from experts before the draft on Lott's WNBA future.
4 years and 1,195 points later, Selena Lott is ready to move on. The Troy, New York native announced that instead of taking her extra year of eligibility granted by the NCAA, she will declare for the WNBA draft. Coming off her Big East Co-Defensive Player of the Year season, Lott has already made a name for herself among some of the WNBA coaches.
Well, first of all, I think, Selena is somebody who can score the basketball. She's also a two-way player. I think she demonstrated that, she can get up and guard people. I think she'll get drafted. Where that's going to happen, I'm not really sure.
Along with Stanley, Lott has also caught the eye of basketball analyst Kim Adams. The former D1 basketball player has noticed over the last 4 years that Lott's playmaking is one of the strongest parts of her game.
What really stands out about her also is her playmaking ability. Her assist numbers have been really impressive in her junior and senior year. And I think she's a player who at 5'11", maybe her strength is on the wing, but if you need her to, she can run the point. And I think that is a big asset to any team, especially at her size, if you're looking at the next level, to be able to have a player who's 5'11" and you can trust her to bring the ball up and make good decisions.
Although she has a strong court IQ, Lott's defensive ability is what could give her the advantage over other prospects come draft night.
So I think that definitely gives her an advantage. The fact that she's already proven that she can really lock in on the defensive end.
At the end of the day, although Lott has already proved that she can play with anyone, pairing her up with a veteran could take her game to the next level.
I would actually like to see Selena Lott play with some vets and just kind of gain that trust. And whether she's coming in for 4 minutes or playing a 12-minute stretch, that's a player who, as a coach, I feel like I could trust.
The WNBA draft is currently taking place on ESPN, where Lott is awaiting her next home. I'm Kristen Parisi, Marquette Sports.
And we will keep you updated with the news on where Lott ends up once it's announced.
But in other women's basketball news, standout sophomore forward Cameron Taylor announced she would be transferring out of the program.
Taylor averaged 12 points and 7 rebounds and was also a Big East honorable selection this season.
This comes after forward Lauren Van Clunen announced she was returning for her last season and after Illinois forward Kennedy Miles announced her transfer to Marquette.
When we come back, we will be discussing the start of the MLB season. So stick around because GSR will be right back.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
And we're back in Studio 7 as we will talk about the latest news surrounding Major League Baseball. Joining me on our panel tonight is Matt Yazel, John Liuzzi, and Zoe Comerford. Let's get started. Baseball's been underway for about 2 weeks now. Which teams have stood out to you guys? Who's been the biggest disappointment thus far. Zoe, let's start with you.
All right, so I'll start off with my biggest disappointment. I have to say, unfortunately, the Chicago Cubs, it's my hometown team. It's just so sad. I mean, you know, they're last in the National League for strikeouts. Their offense has been awful.
Terrible.
On Wednesday, they lost to the Brewers 7-0. Just, it's a mess. It's all a mess. They need to get their offense going if they want to. And they play the Braves, the Mets, and the Dodgers coming up. So good luck if you can't get your offense going.
Not easy.
So,
Johnny, sorry, Zoe.
Oh, no, I didn't know if you wanted me to go for the
let's hear
outstanding team. So the most outstanding team, I would say I have to, unfortunately, go with Nick Galley's Boston Red Sox.
All right.
You know, I mean, they're the best in the MLB right now. They're the hottest, and they're the only team in the MLB actually to go from a 3-game losing streak at the beginning of the season to not at least 9 straight wins after that. So, you know, pretty impressive by the Red Sox.
Great start for Boston. Johnny, let's hear your teams.
Let's start off with a little bit of a high note here, Shaner.
All right.
I'm going to go a little bit and stay home to New Jersey, and that is Mike Trout's Los Angeles Angels. And this is a team.
Well, that's a lot of geography in there.
All over the place. Sticking home with
Follow
the
the map
Jersey
at
product.
home. All right.
Here. So this is a team that I picked to win the AL West this year. The scoreless drought of the postseason was going to end this year. Trout has been off the charts to start this year. They have good pitching. They still need to get a little bit better, but I think this team is showing a lot of good signs in the second year of Joe Madden as the manager over in LA. But the team that's underperforming, I'm going to have to stick with the NL East, and that is the Atlanta Braves. And this is a team that, as we know, we've talked about, that they are deep from hitting, pitching, and even their defense. And it hasn't been great so far for Atlanta. They got swept by my Philadelphia Phillies in the opening weekend. The bats are coming around with Ronald Acuna and Marcell Ozuna and Freddie Freeman, but this team is underperforming in the pitching market. And this, I'm telling you, I'm scared as a Phillies fan of the Braves pitching, and you know they just haven't been performing so far.
All right. Yays, what do you got?
Well, first of all, Shane, so happy to be talking baseball again. Absolutely.
Finally for you.
Been waiting a long time.
It's been about 6 months, right?
So, John, I'm actually going to agree with you and say the Angels have been a good surprise. I think any just baseball fan in general wants the Angels to be good because, I mean, unless you're like a Dodgers fan or something, but you want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs.
You want to see Mike Trout on the biggest stage.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, he's been the best player for a long time now. But I will say, Shohei Ohtani is looking like a potential MVP right now. I mean, ever since he signed with the Angels, everyone's wanted him to rake at the plate and pitch great on the mound. We're seeing that now. He's throwing gas. He's hitting bombs. It is so fun to watch. They look great. And a team that I'm going to say is a little disappointing so far is the New York Yankees. They have been
I'm glad you said it.
Handled pretty well by the teams in their division, the Blue Jays and the Rays, who I think will both be competitive this year. Not a great start in New York. Garrett Cole looks pretty good, but otherwise, pitching could certainly get a lot better. And the offense is just, it's not there yet. There's not a lot of juice with this Yankees team that I'm seeing so far. A team that a lot of people have, at least in the ALCS, if not in their World Series, if they can stay healthy. So a bit of a disappointing start for the Yankees.
And their schedule has been pretty favorable in favor of the Yankees, and they lost 3 of their first 4 series. So it's all about the supporting staff, and after you get through Cole, that starting rotation, just not there yet.
And now they're looking up to Boston, too. You can't fall too far behind.
That rivalry, ooh.
Oh, that's a good rivalry.
Yeah.
If I'm allowed here, I'm gonna just chime in.
Go ahead.
I mean, obviously, you know, I'm a huge Cubs fan. We all know this. As Zoe said, it has been mightily disappointing, to watch this offense struggle the way they have. They're just not getting it done. But we got to move on from them right now. I mean, they'll keep me up at night, and you know what? I don't have time to lose sleep right now. But anyways, moving on. Last Sunday, we witnessed a very controversial call on primetime television where John Leuzzi's Phillies, their infielder Alec Boehm, was called safe at home to win the game. Let's take a look. Players and celebrities have voiced their opinion on Twitter criticizing MLB's replay review system. First, what are your guys' thoughts on the play? Second, how can MLB improve their replay? And John, before we get to you, we got to hear what Yazel thinks. Obviously, he didn't touch home, right?
Very obviously, John, and I'm coming right at you. I was watching that game.
Look at this guy.
I watched the entirety of that game. John goes right on Twitter after the moment, says he's safe, he's safe.
He was.
There was so many different angles of that play, not one of which showed that he touched home plate. It was ridiculous. They spent like 10 minutes reviewing the stupid play, and they still called him safe, and that ended up helping the Phillies win that game, which was a great game. I mean, back and forth, the stars were out, Harper, Acuna. It was a great game, ruined by a horrible call. If you're going to have replay, get the call right. If you're going to spend so much time looking at a play, leaving those fans just sitting there waiting, I mean, get the call right.
Especially to win the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the concept of, the call on the field is just
what matters most.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have 1,000% evidence to overturn it. And, you know, you could say, there's a little dirt on the plate, so you couldn't see that little angle. That's garbage. I'm sorry. If there was plenty of evidence there to overturn that, it should have been overturned. And the replay, that's not the only time this year the replay's been bad.
And we'll get back to how replay can fix it. But first, Zoe, thoughts on the play. And then, John, you can hold your case over there.
I mean, I've got to agree with Matt. I'm sorry. They had 5 different camera angles, and he did not touch the plate. Sorry, John, but it just wasn't there. And I think, the replay system, if you're going, what's the point then of the replay system? If you're not, like Matt said, if you're not going to get it right, what is the point of even having one? So, I mean, they have to make some serious revisions. Obviously, they've come a long way with the replay system, but they still have a long way to go.
All right, John.
Everything you have all said is bogus. He was safe.
Oh, my goodness.
And,
do we have a boo track in here?
We
need one.
Let's bring it out.
I'm giving the truth. The home plate umpire was right on the plate. And you're telling me his eyes couldn't see that?
Yes.
Clearly they could not.
Hold on. We call Didi Gregorius Sir Didi. He came through because the giraffe, Alec Boehm, got his foot in there.
Your nicknames are as bad as that call was.
Come on, man. It's not as bad. Come on now.
The giraffe.
The giraffe, what is that?
All right. I hear you, John.
But
I don't really. But Matt, where
oh my God.
Where can MLB fix this? We don't have a ton of time. Where can MLB get this right? Because you said it. If you're gonna use replay, you gotta get the call right.
Okay. Well, fun fact: the umpires. So the replay's in New York, and it's run by fellow umpires. I mean, these umpires they know each other. They work with each other. So how about bringing an unbiased party to the review center in New York? Why not? Why? I mean,
so you think it's a buddy-buddy thing?
It potentially. I mean, you don't want to make that call. Like we said, it's a viral kind of moment, and that umpire is going to be associated with that. So maybe an umpire's like, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but you have to because he made a wrong call.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that could be done. Yeah. And another thing would just be, like I mentioned, cutting down the time that they can replay. You know what? If you're going to get the call wrong, at least don't spend forever on it and waste everyone's time.
All right, Zoe, real quick, where can MLB go?
I mean, like I said before, they've come a long way, but they still have a long way to go. I think that, if you're going to make the call, you got to make it right. And I agree with Matt. You got to cut down the time. Don't make those people wait any longer. And just, if you're going to overturn, there's been many cases this season already that, the calls have been wrong. So.
Well, we'll have to see. Maybe we'll see something like the NFL bring someone in the booth, a retired ump or something like that. John, I'm going to have to cut you off. I'm sorry. All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks for the great discussion. But be sure to tune in next week for all of our coverage of Marquette Sports and much more. For Amy Galashewski, I'm Shane Hogan. Good night, Marquette.